Hare Krishna, very dear devotees, welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, we're continuing with our mini-series on stimulation for ecstatic love, and this will be part 41. Herein we'll continue with our discussion on betel leaf and betel nuts in the Lord's pastimes. Now previously we have discussed the use of betel in Radha and Krishna's pastimes, so today I thought we could discuss betel in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, as well as their immediate followers. 2 weeks ago, we discussed the pastime of Lord Chaitanya taking betel nut and fainting, you may remember. It was Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 15, verse 16. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate betel nuts offered to the deity, but they acted as an intoxicant, and he fell down on the ground unconscious. We discussed that. Now, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 1049, there's a description of Srila Murari Gupta. He's the author of Sri Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya, another book about Lord Chaitanya. And therein it's written, Shri Murari Gupta Shaka Premera Bandhara Prabhura Hridaya Drave Shuni Danya Yanra. That Murari Gupta, the 21st branch of the tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was a storehouse of love of Godhead. His great humility and meekness melted the heart of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Srila Prabhupada describes in the purport to that verse that once when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu were sitting together in the house of Srinivas Acharya, Murari Gupta first offered his obeisances to Lord Chaitanya and then to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, however, was older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore Lord Chaitanya said that Murari Gupta had violated social etiquette, for he should have first shown respect to Lord Nityananda and then to him. This is the etiquette. So in this way, Murari Gupta learned about the position of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So the next day, when they all met, he offered obeisances first to Lord Nityananda and then to Lord Chaitanya. So Srila Prabhupada writes there that, thus pleased with him, Lord Chaitanya gave Murari Gupta his chewed betel nut. He was pleased with this devotee. So as a reward, or just showing affection really, he gave him his chewed betel nut. So therein we hear how Mahaprabhu would also chew betel nut. Now, there are also references of Lord Nityananda enjoying betel nut. For example, I found in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 5, there's a very beautiful description of Lord Nityananda chewing betel leaf by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. He begins this description of Lord Nityananda in verse 180. He writes, one night Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream, the author speaking here, because of my good quality in chastising my brother. Then he continues, I fell at his feet, offering my obeisances, and then he placed his own lotus feet upon my head. Arise, get up, he told me again and again. Upon rising, I was greatly astonished to see his beauty. He had a glossy, blackish complexion, and his tall, strong, heroic stature made him seem like Cupid himself. He had beautifully formed hands, arms and legs, and eyes like lotus flowers. He wore a silk cloth with a silk turban on his head. Then he writes, Koti Chandra Jini Mukha Ujvala Varana Dadimba Bija Samadhanta Tambula Charvana. There again we hear the word tambula. His face was more beautiful than millions upon millions of moons, and his teeth were like pomegranate seeds because of his chewing betel. Because of his chewing betel. Nitai. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita Ancha Lila, chapter 6, verse 96, we learn that at the famous chipped rice festival in Bengal, Lord Nityananda again chewed betel. Pushpamala Vipra Ani Prabhu Gali Dhila Chandana Aniya Prabhura Sar Vange Lapila Bengali. Then a Brahmana brought a flower garland, placed the garland on Nityananda Prabhu's neck, and smeared sandalwood pulp all over his body. Then Sevaka Tambula Lana Kare Shimar Pana Hasiya Prabhu Kare Ye Charvana. So beautiful, Bengali. When a servant brought betel nuts and offered them to Lord Nityananda, the Lord smiled and chewed them. The Lord smiled and chewed them. So betel nut. There's also a very nice betel, betel pastime involving a second generation follower of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, namely one of our heroes, Srinivas Acharya. The pastime is as follows. Once in Vishnupur, Srinivas Acharya had just finished worshipping his deities, and he was seated before them in meditation. Suddenly, he was transported to Braja in his eternal form as Mani Manjari. Srinivas Acharya is Mani Manjari. Now, Mani Manjari found herself on the bank of the Jamuna alongside other maidservants who were watching Radha and Krishna and their gopi friends engaged in a very intense water fight, Jalkeli, pastimes in the water. Now afterwards, Krishna and the gopis, they came out of the water and they dressed in fresh clothes. But while decorating Srimati Radharani, her maidservants noticed that her nose ring was missing, having fallen off in the intense water fight. So Rupa Manjari asked Mani Manjari to find this lost nose ring. We've discussed Srimati Radharani's losing, some of her ornaments before. Shastra states that she regularly loses her ornaments, and Mani Manjari is one of the fortunate gopis she entrusts to find them. But it was no easy task. For the nose ring was not only underwater in the Jamuna, but it was also covered by a leaf. And during the time it took Mani Manjari to find it, Srinivas remained in trance for 3 days in Vishnupura. Remember, he's meditating on these eternal pastimes. His pastimes in the spiritual world as Mani Manjari. So he remained in trance for 3 days in Vishnupura. And his wives, because he had 2 or 3 wives, and followers were frantic, thinking that Srinivas actually had left his body. But in reality, he was searching for Srimati Radharani's nose ring in his spiritual body. But finally, at long last it's described, as Mani Manjari, he found the ring, the nose ring. And when Mani Manjari returned to the other gopis with the nose ring, Radha was resting while some of her maidservants massaged her limbs. So Mani Manjari handed the nose ring to Rupa Manjari, who carefully put it back on Srimati Radharani's nose. Then as Rupa Manjari massaged one of Sri Radha's legs, Guna Manjari invited Mani Manjari to massage the other leg of Srimati Radharani. It's described an offer that Mani Manjari gladly accepted. And after that, when the massage was finished, in an act of, it's described, intense love, Srimati Radharani gave Mani Manjari her chewed betel leaf remnants as a reward. Her chewed betel leaf remnants as a reward. Now it's written that with that blessing, Mani Manjari's ecstasy increased unlimitedly. That's how it's described. And just at that moment, Srinivas Acharya's disciples in Vishnupur managed to bring him back to external consciousness. And they were amazed, listen to this, to find out he was still chewing the betel that he had just received from Sri Radha in Goloka. This was in his deep meditation. But when they brought him back, he was chewing the betel that he just received from Sri Radha in Goloka. Deep and esoteric, but very relishable. Now, at this point, I'd like to share a more, how could I say, contemporary betel leaf story that took place during the reign of another one of my heroes, Jai Singh Maharaj II in Jaipur, the famous Krishna Bhakta in Jaipur. In the late 1600s or the early 1700s, I couldn't pinpoint it exactly, but this information I found in the Jaipur Poti Khana. What's the Jaipur Poti Khana? It's the Jaipur Research Center. In Jaipur, sometimes you can get entrance. If you're a scholar, or I'm not a scholar, but a devotee, they let me in. It's in the archive documents published by Jai Singh II himself. He published them himself, his memoirs. So it's really interesting. Therein he wrote that when the Muslim emperor Aurangzeb attacked Vrindavan in, what was the year? 1670 AD, the deities of Madan Mohan, Gopinath, Damodar, Govindaji, etc., were moved to Amber, Rajasthan for safety. It took many years, of course, and when they finally arrived, Jai Singh II, he was in power at that time. His father passed away, I think, when he was 11, and he became the regent, he became the king. Very big responsibility at 11 years of age. So when these deities finally arrived, he was a young man, and he arranged for all of them to be worshipped in a forested area called Kanaka Vrindavan. I've taken Parikrama parties to Kanaka Vrindavan, just outside of Jaipur, very beautiful area, just next to present-day Jaipur. But soon after their arrival, these deities' arrival, Jai Singh began construction of the city of Jaipur. And the very first building he constructed was a palace called the City Palace. And it was in the center of the planned city. It was actually going to be his residence. And just next to, or you could say in that complex of the City Palace, he constructed an extremely beautiful, smaller palace, which he named Chandra Mahal. Chandra Mahal. Chandra Mahal means the moon palace. And he built this smaller palace, but exquisitely beautiful, for his queen, or the queen, to relax in. But just when it was completed, the deity of Govindaji, amongst the various deities, the deity of Govindaji, appeared to him in a dream and said, he recorded his dream, "O king, do you not love me more than your wife? Do you not love me more than your wife? If you do, then install me in the palace of Chandra Mahal." So when Jai Singh II woke up, he immediately ordered that Radha and Govindaji, because Radha had accompanied Govindaji to Vrindavan, be brought from Kanaka Vrindavan to Chandra Mahal, where they are still being worshipped today. It means the present temple of Govindaji in Jaipur was originally built not as a temple, but a palace. And those of us who have been there, we can recognize it doesn't look like a normal temple that you would see in India, although it's very beautiful. It's very expansive, very broad. If you think about it now, if you've been there, you'll say, oh, it's not exactly a temple, but it was built as a palace. But it's where Govindaji wanted to reside, so it's perfect and complete. So once Jai Singh established Govindaji in his new home, he arranged for very elaborate, very royal seva to take place. He got a lot of attendants, a lot of servants and helpers to do with the puja and all the various service needed to worship a deity. And historically at that time, hearing that Govindaji was now safe in Jaipur, protected in Jaipur by Jai Singh II, devotees from Orissa, Bengal, Vrindavan, they started traveling all the way to Jaipur to take darshan of Govindaji and the other deities as well. So in order to serve Govindaji nicely, Jai Singh established a kitchen, a milk house, it's described like that, a kitchen, a milk house, a flower house, and vegetable houses all around Chandra Mahal, where they would grow these different items. At the same time, he also appointed, it's described, one of the royal ladies, one of the ladies of the royal house, to make tambula for Radha and Govinda every day. Now once again, remember, tambula means betel nuts, various spices, etc., wrapped in betel leaves in the shape of a cone, tambula. So he had one of the royal ladies make these betel cones for Radha and Govinda every day. I was reading in his account, she used to make up to 56 betel cones in different shapes and sizes every day for Radha and Govindaji. 56. And I was reading that she would pluck the betel leaves from the vines in the garden that she had. She would wash them very carefully, then wrap them, along with many spices again, in delicate gold-weaved velvet cloth. Those were the days, the glory of India, in delicate gold-weaved velvet cloth. And then she would have them offered by the priest to Radha Govinda daily after every meal. Now later, those Maha betel cones were later in the day, or you could say the evening or nighttime, they were all sent to the king, to Jai Singh II, who himself would relish them, and then he would distribute them to his various servants and friends and well-wishers. It's written that after receiving and chewing those Maha betel cones, everyone would do more service than their capacity allowed them to, with their hearts now filled with love for Govindaji. That's how he wrote it. So slowly, this royal lady's, her betel cones, became famous in Jaipur and beyond. And pilgrims would take them back home to Orissa, to Bengal, to Vrindavan, especially Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because of course Radha Govinda are the deities of Srila Rupa Goswami. So they would come for darshan, and they'd take these home, it's described, these cones home as souvenirs of the service of Govindaji, these betel cones. So observing this, Jai Singh established a very large pangar, it's called, Panghar, a pangar, meaning a house of betel for the service of Govindaji. So that very famous betel cone lady made those cones every day for the rest of her life. And she still continued to make that tambul for Govindaji when she was very, very old. Unfortunately, when she passed away one day in her old age, somehow or other the service of making and offering betel leaf cones to Govindaji stopped. I can just imagine that Jai Singh II had so many services to do. He was, fighting in wars and ruling Jaipur, and you can just imagine. So somehow the service of making and offering betel leaf cones to Govindaji stopped, to Radha Govinda. But the ways of the Lord are mysterious. One day, Govindaji himself appeared in a dream to Jai Singh II and said, as he wrote this, "My dear Maharaj, I want you to arrange for another lady who can serve me with the same betels as the royal lady you organized before. The Lord appears in the dreams of his devotees. You can imagine how much he appreciated Jai Singh II for building Jaipur to protect him, Sri Radha, and the other deities of Braj. So this was his dream. So when Jai Singh woke up, he immediately began searching all over Jaipur and Rajasthan, as described, for a lady who was expert in making betel cones, tambula. So the news, it spread everywhere, that if such a lady could make that type of betel, she would be rewarded with many gifts. And many ladies came forward, but unfortunately, none of them could match the cooking of the previous lady. Who had passed away. Then, one day, inspired from within his heart, the head priest suggested to Jai Singh II that he himself might be the best person for making these betel cones for Govindaji, because he had a very deep relationship with Govindaji. So he suggested. So now, despite all his other royal duties, Jai Singh practiced and practiced and practiced and perfected the art of making tambul, betel cones, which, it's described, Radha Govinda accepted with great pleasure. This is recent history. Well, fairly recent history. Betel in the 1700s. So at this point in history, then this history, I could say, took a big turn. Because it was then that Jai Singh Maharaj ordered a deity of Lalita Sakhi, made holding a silver betel box, made of 8 precious metals. Remember, I think in the first class on betel we discussed how in the spiritual world Lalita is in charge of betel. She has her own garden, etc., and she has silver, gold, and boxes made of precious metals, which she holds in service to the divine couple during Rasa Lila, and on this earth planet in her deity form next to Radha and Krishna. So Jai Singh had her installed on the right side of Govindaji. Now next time I go, having learned this, next time when I go to Jaipur during Kartik, which is not far away, I'm going to meditate on her there, standing right next to Govindaji with that box of betel. Before that time, there were actually only 3 deities in the temple, Radha, Govinda, and Vishaka. But the deity of Lalita was established by Jai Singh II for the purpose of offering betels to the Lord. Such is the glory of Rupa Goswami's beloved Govindaji. Wow. So we're going to finish there today, a rather short class, but I'm back in Vrindavan after the summer tour in Poland, and I'm only here for a day because tomorrow I have to go to Rishikesh to sign the contract for our Rishikesh festival in March, that famous Kirtan Mela that we have every year. I have to sign the contract now because, well, many Westerners go there during that particular month to search out yoga for spiritual inspiration, and we've been there repeatedly for a number of years now with that Kirtan Mela, so I want to secure it early enough. So I couldn't research as much as I wanted to, but I hope you're satisfied with that nectar about Betel and Mahaprabhu's pastimes and his immediate followers. So let us finish today with some famous verses, some appropriate verses from Brahma Samhita, wherein we hear about Govindaji. You know them, but, svadhu svadhu pade pade, we never get tired of hearing this nectar. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head bedecked with peacock feather, with the figure of beauty, tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Around whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket, whose 2 hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, and whose graceful, threefold bending form of Shama Sundar is eternally manifest. All glories to Govindaji. And many thanks to Jai Singh II for all his service to Rupa Goswami's deity. Thank you, Prabhu. We'll be back again next week. I don't think we have much information left on Betel leaves, betel nuts, etc. I've been thinking to do, for some time, a lecture on Braj Renu, on the glories of the dust of Vrindavan as a stimulation for ecstatic love. So please give me your blessings. Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki, Mayapur Dhama ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtanya ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Sham. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.